I still remember that night. Christmas Eve, snow falling like quiet ashes over the road, and me driving 3 long hours back to my hometown. The car heater barely worked, but my heart was warm. I was finally going home. For months, my sister Linda had been calling, saying, "David, come home this year. Mom misses you. We all do." And I believed her. You see, family meant everything to me. Even after Dad passed away, I made sure to call every week, send flowers on Mom's birthday, and never forget a single Christmas card. No matter how busy life got, I tried to stay close. But that year was different. I'd lost my job in November, the one I'd worked so hard for, and I didn't tell anyone. I wanted to see my family, not for pity, just for peace. I thought maybe Christmas would remind me that I still belonged somewhere. When I finally reached the old house, the lights were glowing warm through the windows, laughter spilling into the night. It looked just like home. But when I knocked on the door, no one opened. I tried again. Then I saw shadows inside, figures moving, my family, and I realized they had seen me. The laughter stopped. A voice whispered something. Then, silence. I knocked once more. "It's me, David." Still nothing. The cold crept in through my coat. The snow deepened. I waited for a full 10 minutes before accepting what my heart already knew. They had locked the door. My family, the people I loved most, had shut me out on Christmas Eve. So I walked back to my car, sat there in the freezing dark, and decided. If this was how they saw me, then I would show them something they'd never forget, not through anger but through grace. My family had always been complicated. After Dad died, everyone drifted in their own directions. Linda took charge of the house and became the self-appointed leader of the family. She was proud, successful, always organizing perfect dinners and posting about them online. Mom lived with her, depending on her care. And my younger brother, Michael, well, he followed whoever made life easier. I lived 3 hours away, working as an operations manager at a manufacturing firm. I wasn't rich, but I managed fine. Still, among them, success meant one thing: status. And I never quite fit that definition. Last summer, at Linda's birthday dinner, I overheard her whisper to Michael, "David's too sensitive. He always makes everything so emotional." I laughed it off then, but maybe I should have known how deep her judgment ran. When I lost my job 2 months before Christmas, I didn't want to burden anyone. I thought, family is for joy, not pity. So I packed some gifts I'd bought earlier, small meaningful things, and drove down. On the way, I kept imagining the warmth, the hugs, Mom's smile. I even pictured sitting by the fireplace, sharing stories of Dad, and maybe finally feeling at peace again. But the moment I stood outside that door, with snow melting on my face, reality hit harder than any storm. They had seen my car. They had seen me standing there. And they'd chosen silence. Later, I learned why. Linda had told everyone that I might come asking for money, that I was struggling, and she didn't want drama to ruin her perfect Christmas dinner. So she made a decision, to pretend I wasn't there. That night, I slept in my car at a nearby gas station. I didn't cry. I just stared at the empty road and thought about how easily love turns into pride. But as dawn broke, I decided something quietly inside me. I wouldn't hate them. I wouldn't confront them. I would simply show them who I really was. My revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be kind. And it would hurt them more than anger ever could, because it would remind them of the goodness they had forgotten. The next morning, Christmas Day, the world was wrapped in white. While families gathered by firesides, I sat at a diner, drinking cheap coffee. The waitress, a kind old woman named Clara, noticed I was alone. "Rough night?" she asked. "Something like that," I smiled. She poured me another cup and said, "Sometimes, the ones who hurt you teach you the best way to love yourself." Her words stayed with me. I spent the next few weeks thinking, not about revenge in the usual sense, but about how to rise without bitterness. I applied for jobs quietly, helped a local shelter manage their holiday donations, and started volunteering to organize food drives. It gave me peace. For the first time, I felt needed again. Then, one morning in January, I got a call from a small logistics firm. They had heard about my volunteer work and offered me a position, with better pay than my last job. I accepted. Over the months, I rebuilt myself piece by piece. And with every small success, I felt lighter, not because I was proving them wrong, but because I was rediscovering who I was before their judgment clouded me. Still, I couldn't forget that night. Not out of pain, but as a quiet reminder. I decided that the next Christmas, I'd do something they'd never expect. When December came again, I called Linda. She sounded surprised but polite. "Hey David, it's been a while." "Yeah," I said calmly. "I wanted to talk about Christmas this year."
"Oh, we already have plans."
"It's a small thing, just close family."
"I understand," I replied.
"I actually wanted to ask if I could send something for Mom." "Sure," she said quickly, relieved. That was all I needed. A week later, I prepared a package, one that wasn't wrapped in anger, but in quiet meaning. Inside, I placed 3 things. A framed photo of all of us from years ago, the last Christmas Dad was alive. A handwritten note that said, "Family is not built by perfection, but by forgiveness." And a check for a charity donation, made in their name, to the same shelter that had given me hope when they shut me out. Then, on Christmas morning, I arranged for the package to be delivered to their doorstep. No name on the outside. Just a simple card that read, "From someone who still believes in family." That evening, my phone rang.
It was Linda. Her voice trembled.
"David, I don't know what to say." I said softly, "You don't have to say anything."
She paused.
"We got your gift." Mom cried when she saw the picture. "Michael's been quiet all evening." I stayed silent. Then she whispered, "We were wrong, David. About everything." Her words didn't sound rehearsed. They sounded human, small, tired, real. "I told them not to open the door that night," she admitted. "I thought you'd come with problems, and I didn't want to deal with it. I wanted a perfect Christmas. But now, I see what we lost trying to look perfect." For a moment, I said nothing. Then quietly, "You didn't lose me, Linda. You just forgot who I was." There was a long pause before she spoke again. "Mom wants to see you. Please, will you come tomorrow?" I hesitated, not because I was angry, but because I wanted to be sure my heart was ready.
"I'll come," I said finally.
But not for apologies.
For peace.
The next day, I drove again. The same 3-hour road, the same snow, but a different feeling. When I reached the house, Linda opened the door herself. Her eyes were red. Mom was sitting in the living room, frail but smiling faintly. When she saw me, tears filled her eyes. "Oh, David." I went to her, hugged her gently, and said, "It's all right, Mom. I'm home." There were no grand speeches.
No shouting.
Just quiet truth filling the space where pride once lived. Michael came over too.
"I should have stopped her," he said softly.
"I just followed along." "I'm sorry, man."
I nodded. "You both learned."
That's what matters. We spent that evening not talking about the past, but about simple things. Dad's old jokes, the smell of pine, the sound of laughter that felt real again. And in that small, imperfect house, I realized, my revenge was complete. Not because they suffered, but because they understood. After that Christmas, everything changed, not instantly, but gradually, like snow melting in sunlight.
Linda became more humble.
She called often, not to show off her success, but to ask how I was doing. Michael started volunteering with me at the same shelter. And Mom, well, she looked happier than she had in years. I didn't bring up that night again. I didn't need to. Sometimes silence tells the story better than words ever could. A few months later, Linda said something that stayed with me forever. I used to think success was about having everything under control, she said. But now I know, it's about having the grace to admit when you're wrong.
I smiled.
That's all I ever wanted, Linda. Not an apology, just understanding. Over time, our family rebuilt itself. Not through grand gestures, but through small acts of care. Phone calls, visits, shared dinners that didn't need to be perfect anymore. Every Christmas after that, they made sure to leave the door open, literally and figuratively. Mom would always say, "Leave the porch light on. David's coming." And I always did. It's been 7 years since that night. Mom's gone now, but her lessons remain like soft echoes in the walls of that house. Linda has 2 kids who call me Uncle Dave. And every Christmas, we sit around the same fireplace, laughing, remembering, and keeping a single empty chair near the door. They say it's for me, a reminder never to shut someone out again. Sometimes I still drive alone on snowy nights and think about that younger version of me, standing outside a locked door, feeling unwanted. I wish I could tell him then what I know now. That real strength isn't in proving others wrong. It's in staying kind when they're cruel. It's in answering silence with grace. Because one day, that grace becomes the loudest voice in the room. It changes people, not through guilt, but through reflection. My family learned that. And so did I. So if you ever find yourself betrayed by the ones you love most, don't rush to anger. Don't try to break them the way they broke you. Instead, become the mirror they cannot ignore. The calm, kind reflection of what they lost when they chose pride over love. And when life gives you that quiet chance to respond, do it not with vengeance, but with dignity. Because sometimes, silence is the best revenge.